So this is what we have. We can see how to work it out properly. We can, for example, we can say dot column, then we have table, we have the table head, we have the table data, and then we can say that border is say 1 pixels solid, maybe slate blue. We could say that border, then border dash collapse. By now you know what this is going to do, to create a single border around each table data or table head or the whole table that we have created. We could now see that we are having those lines, so we could expand the size of our table. For example, we could say that the dot column table should occupy a width of, let's say, 100%, so that stretches it further to look like this. We can work on our border radius here. We can get it out if it is not working properly for us. So we have something that looks like this. You could want it, or you can use around 2 pixels for border radius if you like, but this is also good enough. We could also talk about, for example, we could say we could put a height here. We can say height for the column of we can begin by 30 pixels. We see how that will look like. This is what we have. Not working out well, but we could apply the same height directly onto the table header here. Table head, the table itself, and the table data, that should go hand in hand with our background. You can even increase it a little further to around 50 pixels, and this is what we have. So this is quite okay and working well. We could also say that the table data, maybe there are many things now you can do. The rest is about how you would want to design this. You could say that so we could say, for example, color to be what color can we use there, just to show you that some of these, if you wanted, this is how you would work on them. You can say blue violet. You could choose to say font weight, and then maybe choose 900. You would be able to increase their strength. You could also say that text dash align, and we center it. So you can add on and on, but we can stop here. This is one of them. We are going to create another example that we can play around with also for a column span. In this, we have looked at what we call scope and its importance, that it can force a table header that would otherwise be here to be in form of a row. If you say the th for table head, and then you say scope in the opening tag of the th, you say scope equals to row. You can even see by default it is centered and bold, just like how other table heads would look like. So let us look at another example. We can choose to deactivate this such that we work on what we want separately, much as most of these are the same things we are going to apply, but it's okay sometimes to start it afresh in case you hadn't picked it the first time. Maybe this could be the time. You can say call dash span, then we can say table. We could go ahead and say table head. This is just the formality and one way of making sure everything under HTML5 is covered or used. Otherwise this table head could be omitted and you simply start on TR and it would work, but that is not what we are going to do. We could say Friday, we say th here, can say another th here, this can be Sunday, and then this will be Saturday, of course. So with those we could then say that we have a table body, the body that we have down here. We could then have a tr in with table data. We can begin with this. We are still under column span. We can say, for example, that this is going to be board meeting, and then this can be church time. Okay, one might ask, we only have two table data or rows, but we have 3 columns. We are going to introduce in something else. For now, this is how it looks like. Sunday has no business, so assume at this time it's assumed that Saturday is church time, Friday is board meeting. But we could quickly change that by saying column span like this equals the number of columns board meeting should occupy. So we are saying it should occupy 2. By default it is 1, so there would not be any use of saying 1. If we say 3, then this will be useless. So we want it to occupy 2 columns, that there will be a board meeting on Friday and Saturday. Sunday is church time. When now we do this, you can see how the browser has interpreted it. Church time is now on Sunday. So with that, we can go on and apply some styles to it. We can even pick the ones we have used. I hope you were following. One of them could be, we can even pick all of these. In the interest of time, we can just say now, because the point was on how to use the number of columns a row should span or should occupy. Consider the word span as occupy. A row should occupy. So we could deactivate this or uncomment it as the language would be. And if that is the case, then we need to change that class. I think it was called span. So we are going to see what this outcome will be. So quickly, we have something like this. Friday, Saturday is occupied by that. Sunday is church time. So this is column span. So this is another example about column span. We had one that was using scope, which was also an important factor for us to run. Now we have something like this, so you can see how beautiful it is and how you can so finally, for our examples, let us look at a row span and how we can use the row span. We've looked at 2 examples of a row span. We are going to look at one example of a row span that can cover most of what we would want. Quickly, we can say row dash span we could say table, we can say t head, and then we can say tr here, and then we create our table heads th, and to leave it empty we can write these ones here, and then add two more. We can then say Saturday, like that. We could say Sunday. We can break a few rules by choosing to say, for example, we can say table body, could say tr here, and then inside this tr we just say th, and then we can call this morning, then we could say table data, and we say board meeting. We are just trying to use the same thing but redoing it, but now instead of column span we can row span, so meaning how many rows is it going to span. Column span was going from left to right. You need to keep that in mind. It spans columns move from left to right by default. Row span would move from top to bottom. We want it to span 2 rows, for example. We also want the next table data, which is church time. Here we can span, we can say row span 3, so for it is going to cover 3 columns. What does this mean? That we still have 2 more rows. This will span 2 rows rather, 3. This will span 2. So we still have 2 rows to create, such that we can finish off with this. So, but we can look at what this looks like for now. We could then be able to add others from here. We have our rows. This is what we have so far, because there is nothing down, and realize that we have forced morning to go here without using scope. We can also come here and then say tr, and inside here we can say th, and this th is afternoon. Since the other side we have morning, so this can be afternoon. Okay, so afternoon will just go down here. Then now we also have, can create another one, tr, can pull this up, then we can say th. Once again we have evening. Now remember that when we say evening here, we said that this should span, board meeting should span 2 rows. You can see church time is now shifting downwards because it is spanning morning, afternoon and evening. Then also meaning that this will be left empty, okay, because what is on Saturday is only spanning 2 rows, board meeting. What is on Sunday is spanning all, or covering all the 3 rows. So there is an empty row here that we can cover by simply saying td. Let's say relax. Maybe in the evening of a Saturday you are relaxing, so relax will sit there properly. Then we can go into our designs. I think we had a dot row span, row dash span, that we can now look at in terms of design. We could say that the width is maybe we could say, let's say 500 pixels. We could say that the background is URL dot images, and then gradient we can say that the background dash size should cover. Then we can also say that margin, if we want to center it, horizontal, we could add a box dash shadow to it, the outside one, which would be, we can say 00, maybe 40. If it becomes too much, we can reduce it. Can say RGBA, and then we pick a color here. We can say, let's say 68, 68. We have a 1, then we have 35. We've been using this. You just don't want to change, but you could change since you will have the time of practice. So when we go back, we have something that looks like this, that is starting to take shape. We could also come here and say dot row span, the table, the th, the td. We could then say that border, we are going to use, let's try a bigger border, for example 7 pixels. Groove or outset, we look at how it will look like, and then we can say maybe dark cyan. We could then also say border dash collapse, and then we collapse it. We could then say dot row span, table, we say the width to be 100% of whatever they have set here, which is 500. So it will be 100% of 500 pixels. We could then say dot row span, table, maybe td. We can say that the color could be, let's say green, or set blue here. That is what we can create for now. We can look at what we have now. It's this, but we could then apply some small height here. We could say height to be, let's say 50 pixels. Give it a little height and we see how it will look like. If that becomes big, you can try inset, and we have something like that. Still too big, we can just set it back to our solid, which we know will be just be a thin line. We change the pixels, so we have something like this. So even if we left it at this, we would be okay with what we want to achieve, because the agenda was not to design this, but to simply show us, or for you to see what we mean by row span and column span. So column span is left to right, row span is from top to bottom. When we said row span equal to 2 on morning, that is where we created it here. Afternoon was empty. Why? Because we simply said afternoon, well knowing that there is a row, a table data that is spanning 2 rows, of which one row is morning, another one is afternoon. So there was no need of a table data here. If this was by default 1, we can just put 1, it would mean the same thing as the default. Then afternoon would have a blank space that you would need to fill up. But since we said let this span 2 rows, then afternoon does not need a table data here. The same applies to evening because it would leave an empty space on a Saturday. Then we had to apply table data to it. So these are all the things you need to know. From here you can test yourself by creating a timetable, designing a timetable. For example, you can also test yourself by creating a calendar, and you create all the hoovers and stuff like that using nth child and all those. There are other things you can do to this. You can look at, for example, since you have studied, if you have finished text, then you have studied how to add icons to words and create them as links. So you can test yourself by creating a Premier League table, one with the names and icons of those teams, and then you use the stripes, and you will be good to go. So all those examples that you can now choose to sit down and work on for you to improve in these skills. Otherwise, we meet in other tutorials for other topics.